Hey folks, this is a video about finding the coordinates of the unit circle. I'd like to define first of all why the unit circle is called the unit circle. The unit circle is always going to have a radius of 1 unit. So 4 coordinates are super easy to find, and that's going to be the 4 coordinates on the 4 axes. So over here on the positive x axis over at 0 degrees or 360 degrees, I know that my coordinate is going to be 1, 0 because I'm going to the right one and up 0. Up at 90 degrees or pi over 2, I know that that's going to be the coordinate 0, 1. At pi, this is going to be the coordinate negative 1, 0. And then down at 270 or 3 pi over 2, this is the coordinate 0, negative 1. So those are the 4 easy ones. Now, in order to talk about the next set of coordinates, I want you to think back to the 30, 60, 90 triangle video that I gave you. And so you should have just recently watched that video. And I want you to see that the very first spoke on my circle causes a 30, 60, 90. Now, I have a highlighted triangle here that I can put on there. See if I can move it up, so that you can easily see what my 30, 60, 90 triangle looks like. We know that that's the 30-degree mark, so it makes sense that that is where it is. Now, in order to get the coordinate at that spot, and remember that for my 30, 60, 90 triangles, the long leg was always going to equal root 3 over 2, and the short leg was always going to equal 1/2. Well, my long leg is this one right here, which is on the x-axis, so that means my x value will be root 3 over 2. The short leg is my y value, so that one's going to be 1/2. Now I need to, let's see, I need to move my triangle so that I can uncover that coordinate there, root 3 over 2 and 1/2. Now, that's the first pi over 6. Go over to quadrant 2. There's another pi over 6 in quadrant 2, and that is going to occur at 5 pi over 6. Notice at 5 pi over 6, I need to go backwards, and then I need to go up to get to that coordinate. And hopefully you can see there that the long leg is on the x value again, and the short leg is my y value. The difference here is that the long leg is going backwards. It's going to the left, so it's going to be negative. So you'll have a negative root 3 for your x, root 3 over 2 for your x value, and a positive 1/2 for the y value. All right, let's do the same thing down in the third quadrant at the next pi over 6, which is 7 pi over 6. So once again, you're going to the left a long value, and you're going down a short value. So left and down are both going to be negative. So you're going to have a negative long, a negative root 3 over 2, and a negative 1/2 for the y value. And then the last pi over 6 over in the fourth quadrant is going to be at 11 pi over 6. So you're going to have a positive long, and you're going to have a negative short. So a positive long then is going to be your positive root 3 over 2, and a negative short is going to be a negative 1/2. So that deals with all of your pi over 6 coordinates. Now let's go to the pi over 3 coordinates, because this is also a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So once again, let me grab this triangle down here and pull it up so that you can see the 30, 60, 90 triangle. So this is going to be my 30, 60, 90 triangle now, but notice the x value now is a short x value. So my x value is going to be 1/2. My y value is going to be root 3 over 2. Sorry, my root there disappeared. That should be root 3 over 2. The next pi over 3 value is going to be at 2 pi over 3 over in the second quadrant. And once again, if you look at that, you're going to go a short x value and a long y value. So a short x will be 1/2, except that it's going to the left, so it's negative. and a long y value of root 3 over 2. Go down to 4 pi over 3. Again, you have a short x value, you have a long y value, poorly drawn, I might add. Both of them, though, are going to be negative. So you have a negative 1/2 for your short value and a negative root 3 over 2 for your long value. And then lastly, we have here the coordinate at 300, or 5 pi over 3. Notice that you've got a short value to the right, so that's going to be a positive 1/2, and a long value down, so that's negative root 3 over 2. So that takes care of all of our pi over 6 and pi over 3 positions. The last position that I want to look at, I want to get rid of this triangle here, is going to be my 45, 45, 90 positions. So this is going to go back to the video that dealt with the 45, 45, 90 special triangle. Once again, I have a triangle here. Let me see if I can move this up. And hopefully you can see, remember that the 45, 45, 90, the two legs were always going to be equal in length, and they were always going to be root 2 over 2. So this coordinate is going to be root 2 over 2, root 2 over 2. And I don't know here. I think I need to move my triangle to be able to get to that. So here's root 2 over 2, root 2 over 2. I can move my triangle back. In the next quadrant, in second quadrant, it's still going to be root 2 over 2, root 2 over 2. We just have to pay attention to where the pos and the neg is. So the x has to be negative because it's going to the left. Y is positive. Third quadrant at 5 pi over 4, again, root 2 over 2, root 2 over 2. But both of them are going to be negative because it's left and down. And then in the fourth quadrant, we're going to the right, which is positive, and down, which is negative, which gives me that root 2 over 2 negative for the y value.